Hello, I'm Cathy. My husband Ian Boyd and I farm at Whittington near Cheltenham. We have Whittington Lodge Farm and we market our pedigree Hereford beef under the banner of Cotswold Beef. We're both organic and certified Pasture for Life.
Hi, I'm Vint and I come from a farm between Stratford upon Avon and Banbury. We took over a completely all arable farm and set up on a complete ethos of pasture fed with a complete rotation of how to bring the farm back to life.
Well, I think it's vital, don't you, that we have cattle and sheep on our soils in order to help build soils?
I certainly do. I think when we took over Hornton grounds, we took a sample of the soil to be analysed to see what it was, and they came back and said it was dead. And we kind of thought the guy didn't know what he was talking about in soil analysis terms. And we got some livestock in, we got some sheep in, and horses came into our rotation and cattle. And after the first year, we kind of thought, well, things aren't really growing very much. And then we did a few tweaks to get the soil going without using fertiliser. And we got to year 3, and we had the eureka moment. Year 3 with the rotation of the 3 livestock, and we got earthworm casts. And we did so excited.
That is wonderful.
And it went from, the sample from the soil analysis of just, you got dead, and we didn't believe them.
To life back in it.
To life back in it. And then I have to tell you, yesterday morning, I grovelled about on the floor with my camera. For the first time, we've got molehills. It's taken us 10 years, but we got the excitement of molehills, and that's just from permanent grazing with livestock on top. And It's just like, yes.
So we move our cattle every day with a series of electric fences, and basically what we're trying to do is they eat a third, they trample a third, and they leave a third. So this produces long roots into the soil, which also sequesters carbon. So there's a number of things going on. Sequestering carbon, the soil life improves hugely because of all the poo from the cattle. We don't use any nitrogen either. And this permanent cycle of moving cattle and sheep around, where we rest the fields. I think they're rested between 2 and 3 months before they go back on. Is just improving soil.
So you're just doing the purest mob grazing.
Yes.
And we're
not doing it every day. We're not doing it every day. I think mob grazing you can be moving up to 3 times a day. I think I'd like a life. So we move ours every day, once a day.
Because we're just following a really conventional farmer's grazing setup. We're resting it, moving from cattle to sheep, so we keep the pasture clean, and it's so clean. I mean, our worm burden is just non-existent for the horses. The horses never need any parasite control because we've got that grazing rotation.
I think because we've only got cattle at the moment, watch this space, that we need to move them on in a part of our rotation. So we're also growing herbal lays, which have 5 grasses.
For seed?
From seed. It's part of
and for seed, or just...
No, herbal lays for the cattle to eat. They're part of our rotation with the spring barley, the permanent pastures, etc. And the herbal lays will have 5 grasses, 5 herbs and 5 legumes. And this increases diversity, but also nutrient density in the meat.
It is very noticeable, the flavour in the meat, when it's just all grass-fed, isn't it?
Yes, it's like a fine wine.
It is,
isn't it?
Whereas
I reckon meat from elsewhere is a bit like an ordinary wine.
You cook, I cook. I can't believe I never use stock cubes anymore, because you don't need it, because you've got flavour in the meat.
We sell our beef retail, and I can't get enough bones. So all the marrow bones people are buying for stock, for bone broth, because of the nutrients.
It is just the flavour. It's the flavour. You can't believe the flavour. And then the sidekick of the soil and getting the animals that healthy. We never have a vet on the farm. The vets come to certify you.
And also, have you noticed in the summers, when it's really, really dry on other people's farms, if they've been feeding sheep in a grass field and they've eaten absolutely everything, then the weather gets dry, it burns off the top of the grass. So a lot of these farms are very yellow looking. Ours was the only one in the area that remained green.
It is quite
because
incredible.
Part of mob grazing is that they leave a sward of grass which protects the soil and the grass is growing.
We really, really noticed that, but it took us about 3 years before we realised we weren't burning out, because we're, I think, very similar soils to you. We're sort of Cotswold brush, but a bit different, and it goes so dry. And then about after 3 years of continuous grass and clover mixtures, we then began to see we weren't burnt out, and everybody we were green and everybody else was yellow.
brown. Yeah.
And then the extraordinary thing is, once you've had that muck rotation, I suppose when we got to about year 5, we really noticed it extended because we weren't getting the moisture loss. I think we got that density in the sward in the bottom, so that, you know, normally being so drought, we're so high up on the hills, such free draining ground, that actually we were holding more moisture.
Well, the other knock-on effect of that is that the way we treat our soils is that it's preventing flooding, because the soils are able to hold more water.
Yeah.
So it's paramount that farmers look after their land and stop water running off into watercourses.
We did have an extraordinary thing about when it really rained and it flooded down the Thames, because we're one of the catchment streams going into the Cherwell and down to the Thames, and we actually had so much rainfall we could see the rain moving along where the sheep had grazed it quite tight, and you literally saw it move. And then 10 days later, wherever it is where they have that big island in the river Thames, where they do all the rowing, racing stuff, you know, the water got down there and flooded more. But it was, I think it would be a lot slower moving that way now. Yeah.